This will be available on all of your favorite podcast platforms under that Lead Lag Live brand name. Please do me a favor and rate these conversations on Spotify, Apple. Any kind of help there in spreading the word is always appreciated. With all that said, my name is Michael Guyette, publisher of the Lead Lag Report. Joining me for the hour is Lia Holmgren. I'm sure a lot of you have seen, certainly a lot that we can talk about here, Lia, but introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you? What's your educational background? How'd you get involved in markets? And what are you doing today?
All right. Well, hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Michael, for having me. I'm excited to be on your space. So about me, I was working as a coach for over a decade. And before COVID-19 pandemic, I lived in Manhattan in New York, where I focused mostly on intimacy and relationship coaching. Since I was very young, I was fascinated by human psychology and behaviors. And I originally wanted to be a psychiatrist, so I went to study pre-medical here in New York, and I focused on biopsychology. But through the process of those 4 years, I discovered counseling and coaching. So I ended up going to do my master's at Columbia in mediation and conflict resolution. So I worked as a couples coach, where I was helping couples and individuals to resolve conflicts they might have between each other or even with themselves. Part of coaching is to find your internal conflict and see how you can improve your life. But in COVID-19, of course, everything was slow. People were thinking about other stressful things than their relationships, and I closed my practice here. And I had too much time on my hands because some people would do online coaching, but there were not as many as before. And I was looking into what could I do. So one of the things I did, I wrote a book on casual sex that I published, where I also help people to get over a stressful impact of this behavior. It's called Hook Up Without Heartbreak. But I also discovered trading, which is it's for many people, it's interesting how I came from intimacy coaching to trading. That's what I did. I was sitting in my house in April 2020, and I was just following the markets, and I said, wow, this thing is fascinating. Let me start trading and learn about the markets. I was investing for over a decade. I was investing in real estate and bonds, and I had some VC funds that I invested in. And of course, I was invested in the markets in ETF funds, but I never actively traded. That was something completely new to me. I never really paid attention to it before. So I started learning, and from then I'm actually trading on a daily basis. But short after I began trading, I actually realized that the biggest part of being a successful trader is being able to control your emotions and understand the psychology around trading. Because it doesn't matter how much you're going to study technical analysis and read news. If you cannot control your emotions, and actually when you click the sell and buy button, you probably won't succeed. So as I was learning about trading and I saw the psychology in it that I'm still fascinated about, I decided to help traders to learn how to manage their emotions. And I pivoted from the relationship and intimacy coaching and went into trading coaching. So it's psychology after all. And it requires discipline, like in real life and relationships and any aspect of your life. If you want to succeed, you have to have discipline. So that's what I'm doing now. I love to coach people in trading, and I help traders to have proper wellness and lifestyle as well, because it is a very stressful job. It's sedentary. You're sitting in front of the computer screen a lot, and it is also very stressful. So I love to help traders to, take care of their lifestyle. I'm certified in coaching and hypnosis. I also have certification in nutrition from Integrative Institute for Nutrition. So it's like a holistic approach to successful trading, I would say. That's how I'm looking at that.
Okay, so on the relationship side, I'm sure you've had many clients where sometimes you say to yourself, this person or this couple can't be saved, right? Sometimes obviously things are kind of past the point of no return, and arguably you can make an argument that some people are better at marriage, some people are better at dating, right? And there's kind of a personality and biology aspect to that as well. Talk through some of the similarities in the types of personalities you've come across from that side of things, the relationship, the intimacy side, to markets, because I do think the one thing the two have in common is personality will often drive how close you are to anything or anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you said, like everyone is different. And I think with trading, it's truly, and I would say trading and investing, it's truly important to know yourself. As with relationships, you need to know who you are and what are you looking for and what is how your lifestyle should look like. And that's how you're going to base what you're going to do around the markets. I mean, there are many different ways. You can just invest and not look at it, and you're more the long-term investor who doesn't want to deal with the markets and look like once quarterly. You want to focus every day. It's part of your lifestyle. You have the nerve for that. Some people can day trade, some people can't because it's too stressful. Of course, you have to, if you day trade, you have to be able to manage your emotion on minute basis, and you have to be able to find fast decisions, make fast decisions. And this micro decision is based on how you can control your emotions. You can make more mistakes that way. For some people, it's just not something they can do. You know, some people like to swing trade. For example, they want to buy a stock or short a stock and stay in the trade for a longer period of time. And to each their own. I think so. That's the number one thing I say with everything, with relationships, with life, with business, and with trading. You need to know yourself. That's the most important.
But there's a biology aspect to that, right? I mean, it's the ability to regulate one's emotion partially is related to our own kind of hardwiring.
Absolutely. Some people are more anxious. Some people are more calm. Some people can control their responses. It's sexuality too. You know, some people have addictive personalities. They need the dopamine. They need more sex, I would say. You know, they like to hook up. Some people don't like to hook up. Some people love to get drilled from the market. So it depends on everyone. And a lot of people don't even know themselves, you know, and it's good to realize who you really are before. And, you know, we can talk deep, we can dive deep into the psychology of trading. We can dive deeper into neuroscience and behavioral finance that is studying all of this. And then, of course, everyone is different. Everyone needs to, you know, that's why the coach is probably good for people. They don't know how, if they can decide, oh, okay, I want to trade. What do I do? Some people need help with knowing themselves. It's for some people, it's difficult. So.
And, you know, obviously for the coach, it's difficult to know, you know, their patient as well, or their person they're trying to help, right? So talk through sort of your own process in terms of how did you identify the type of personality you were dealing with, again, from the relationship coaching side, and how any of that might apply to your process of trying to identify what kind of person you're dealing with when it comes to trading.
So first of all, you know, you need to know, like, how do you react to the environment? Some people are more impulsive. And when I'm in a coaching session, I spend an hour or two with someone and I talk to them and I give them questions. So, you know, some people are more reactive. Some people tell me, oh my God, I can't see my stock going down. Like I can't imagine I would be in a losing position. And I just, you know, people sell because they get scared. They are unable to follow their plan. Some people can follow their plan better. And then that's how you do everything in life. You know, if you are good with, I make a plan, I will stick to the plan and I will execute. Great. If you can do it, then I advise people, you know what, rather you probably will be having a hard time in trading. So rather have a robot advisor or just buy ETF funds and don't look at it. It's a process. So, you know, as I said, it's not easy to find out who someone is, but for me, probably as a coach, it's easier than for people themselves oftentimes. So through the session, I'm able to determine personalities of people. You know, like some
is
people.
It like do you have like a good sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like some people have more financial literacy. Some people have a higher level of confidence. Some people, you know, like risk. Some people don't like risking, and that's also important to know when you start. Like, do you know about the markets? Like, are you able to read fundamentals of the companies, for example? If you can do that, you say, okay, I might be investing. I might be buying the dip of the company. Like right now, we're in bear market. There are different people. Some of them say, no, I'm scared to buy the dip. It keeps dipping. But there are people that actually do fundamental analysis and they know the companies are undervalued and they buy the stock. And when they have a plan, they can stick to the plan. But some people just aren't able to stick to the plan. They buy those companies because they believe in those companies. And when the companies start dipping, they're selling with loss because of fear. And as I said, like the most important emotions in trading are fear and greed. And these are the two feelings that are driving our success as traders.
Is there sort of like a checklist of questions or things that you try to get from or pull from the person that you're dealing with to sort of put them in a box or put them in a particular category of personality? I'm always fascinated by sort of how does one get to know somebody that they've only met, in a short period of time, but get to the relevant information that matters for a coaching session?
Well, there is a checklist, of course. Like as I said, how do you lead your life? Do you go to the gym? Are you sticking to your gym plan, for example? If someone says, "Yeah, I'm very like disciplined. I go 5 times a week and I go on time," do people like to do things on time, or are they more spontaneous? Do you want to? Do you freak out easily, or are you explosive personality? These are very important things. Are you scared, or are you taking risks? Do you gamble? All these questions that you can ask and find out who you're dealing with. And it's very unique with everyone, because like when people come to me, they tell me, okay, I have this problem, and I help them fix what they want to fix. So it's really hard to, like, as you said, if I box up people, I never do that. I don't ever put people in one box, because everyone is so unique and so beautiful. And that's why people come to me, we prepare for the session. What do you want to work on? Say, you know what, maybe I want to be less reactive. I want to stick to the plan. I said, maybe I suggest some people meditation. So it's really hard to like do like a checklist of, as you said, like something boxed up. That's not how I would do it, to be honest. So everyone is different. Everyone wants to work on something else. And that's how I approach people. Also in sexuality is extremely colorful.
It's interesting because, I mean, you had mentioned the term addiction before, and I feel like that dopamine hit is a real dilemma for a lot of people. I mean, you can argue that's partially why people are increasingly short term. It's why they end up over trading. You can even make the argument that there's an element of kind of gambling to day trading, or even some of these zero DT type of options that are all about kind of the dopamine addiction type of thing. The thing is, and I'm sure you've seen these studies and even coached on this. At some point, the mind gets numb, right, to getting more and more of the same degree of dopamine hits. So you end up taking more risk, you end up taking on more extreme types of behavior because you're not getting the same degree of excitement as you did before. How do you deal with those that are maybe have struggling with the numbness of their internal reward system? Because I think whether it's relationships, intimacy, or trading, at some point that's going to happen.
Well, the question there is also like, do you think that people they have a gambling issue and they have addictive personality are really successful traders? And the question there is, how long is this success going to last? So I don't know if they really can get numb, because I honestly don't know many people they have this problem and they are ongoing successful in trading. It's like most of the people that have gambling problem, they will lose their money pretty quickly, because exactly what you said, they need the dopamine and they are sizing up the trades, and at some point they're unable to actually focus on and make rational decisions. So that will be probably a really short path. And if someone has gambling addiction or addictive personality, I would strongly suggest them to not trade. I'm just being very honest and direct with you, because if you can't control this, it's going to end up in disaster. And we've seen it. And some people are addictive. Like if I see people, they like to do drugs, they have addictions of different kinds, and then I don't think they should trade. Like, then they should probably have a manager or have call Vanguard and invest their money with Vanguard and do everything without any sort of emotion, which means like you do auto pay on your account and you do automatic withdrawals to an account or to your Roth IRA or and invest this way, because it will be really difficult to deal. I mean, the addictions are extremely difficult to deal with at the beginning. So that's just my advice for most people, because the success rate is there is really low, But even people without addictions, why do we do certain things? So, for example, I really enjoy a blog from Steve Burns. He talks about it. He's a neuroscientist who also became a trader. And a lot of people, affected by, just look at greed and fear. People, they are easily affected by greed. They will dream about the bigger profits, right? And they're going to size up the position because, oh my God, I can make more money. And then you get so much dopamine that's produced in your body that you will just excite your whole mesolimbic circuitry, and it will feed into this risk behavior even more. And then suddenly you have this, you're almost high on the idea of making a lot of money, and you're unable to make clear decisions and follow your plan. So that's like something what can happen. And the same thing, if the trade goes against you and you have a huge position, you just sized up on this position. A lot of times what people do when the trade goes against them, they will keep buying more and more and hope to average in and make at least break even. So the same thing, like there is a stress hormone, cortisol, that will be produced, and that's also going to overload our mesolimbic circuitry in our brain, and we won't be able to think clearly, and then we start panicking. And like losing money is the same feeling as when you're running from the predator. So it's like it just starts your fight or flight system. And that way you can't think, and you're just gonna click a button, whatever button, okay, or, sell, you lose a lot of money. So that's one risk that can happen, for example, when we talk about dopamine and where it leads. So it's extremely important for us to know this upfront. And I think every trader should learn about the psychology, probably even before they start trading with real money, to understand what's happening with their mind when they're trading, because it can get risky. Or just start, trading with small sizes. It's fine. I don't know. I don't like paper trading. I wouldn't suggest people to paper trade, just maybe because you want to know the platform and the functions of the platforms. That's maybe good to have a little trial there. But just trading with tiny sizes to understand how you respond to this, to markets, and know yourself that way. That also helps a lot. It's okay, like you trade with 10 shares and see, okay, if the stock goes up, how do I feel? Observe your body. Okay, can I think clearly? And then you size up. And then if you start shaking and you're like, wow, I'm going to make all this money. And then you're just high on the idea of making money, get rich quick. And that's when we start losing, most likely. And if you make money, then you were lucky. But I wouldn't rely on luck in trading.
You had mentioned neuroscience a few times. First of all, outline what exactly neuroscience is, and what are some of the studies that you've either done or that you've seen that you think are most appropriate when it comes to traders?
Well, neuroscience refers to the way the brain works along with our cognitive functions. So neuroscience and neuroscientists focus their studies on the human brain and how it impacts our behavior and the thinking functions. So as I already mentioned, trading revolves around a great deal of decision making. So we must make a lot of choices. Day traders have to make choices very fast, quickly, and scalpers even faster. And then you ask the question, well, who is responsible for all these decisions? And it's us, our thoughts and our biases. That's very important. A lot of people are biased, and traders can be biased too. And more money is involved, more risk is involved, and then our overconfidence takes over, our biases take over. And that's what neuroscience is studying. Like, how do we react? Why? Where are these thoughts coming from? So, like, some interesting findings in neuroscience that I learned about or I read about, maybe a lot of people will associate with them here on this space, is, for example, traders are more inclined to repurchase stock that they had previously sold, because now they feel like, okay, I sold it with loss, or I made profits, and I'm gonna now do it again. Maybe if the stock is going higher, you feel like regret. It's like, oh my God, I sold early. Let me hop on the trade again. And you just buy the stock much higher, and then you lose money. Or you say, no, this stock stole my money. I'm going to buy it again and try to make my money back. And then that's all these emotions we have that will make us do these things. That's like,
by the way, that's almost like an on and off relationship.
Yeah, it's like being in an abusive relationship and coming back to the same partner. Like, this stock took my money. I'm going to try it again. And it's interesting how our brain works, why we do that. Then it's also like another finding that's quite interesting is that a lot of people invest in stocks of companies that the headquarters or the places in their town or close to their home. It's almost like, oh, I feel safe because this company is my city. So they don't even think about, is the company actually doing well? But they will just buy the stock because they're like, oh, I love this, Or it's like also believe, like I read it a lot on Twitter. It's like, buy companies that you use. But using something doesn't mean I know how the company is doing financially. It's like I almost, when I read it, I'm like, okay, it's like buy Tesla or buy this and that. And I don't know if the company is doing well just because I like the product. That's quite interesting why we do that. Kind of give us this fake feeling of safety. And another thing is like that I read is that most traders are focusing on the profits and how much money they can make. They dream of a lifestyle and vacations and sexy cars and traveling, but they don't really focus on the hard work and how much time it's going to take it to learn this skill set. Like technical analysis, patterns, reading, understanding news and understanding fundamentals. But that's what makes a lot of traders to actually lose at the end, because they're focusing on the profit instead of the work and their plan. Because the money, once you learn that and you have a discipline, the money will come at least afterwards.
Let's go to for a question.
Thanks for the question. Well, what I love to do with clients is to actually have them to find the way themselves. And with the questions and with the work we do, I want them to actually have the idea on their own. What I like to avoid is to tell people what to do, because psychologically, a lot of people have this like reverse psychology kind of subconsciously. So when you tell them what to do, they will do exactly the opposite, or they will not do it. So what I love to do is it's a creative process. We have a conversation and I'm asking questions and they give the answers to themselves. And I think once it's your idea and you find it yourself and it's like, whoa, it's something clicks in you. And you say, oh, wow, that is so easy. Why I didn't know about this before? And that's the approach, because you're right. Like it's hard to be self-aware. I mean, people just can't do it. But as I said, with the right questions and in a conversation, you usually get the lights goes on somehow. It's almost like in writing. You want to show, not tell. When you write a book, the same thing. You want to show, not tell, because people need to find the idea themselves, and that's very valuable for them.
You know what's interesting about all this is that you can spend all the time in the world reading books, studying about markets, about what great investors do. But there's a well-known behavioral finance dynamic that you can be aware of a bias, you can be aware of certain things, but it doesn't necessarily change your actions, right? I mean, you can know the right things to do, but you still don't do them, despite all your best intentions. Do you think, Leah, that people need to focus more on knowing who they are more than what they're studying? Because I kind of feel like you always have these people that show these bookshelves of all these books they've read, but none of it is ever related to reflection on themselves.
Absolutely. And before I get into this, I want to use a famous quote from Warren Buffett. And maybe you guys are sick and tired of hearing those quotes, but I like this one, where he says, investing success doesn't correlate with IQ after you're above a score of 25. Once you have ordinary intelligence, then what you need is the temperament to control urges that get others into trouble. And that's exactly what you said. People read these books and they learn the analysis and they spend hours and sometimes thousands of dollars for coaches and programs and learn, but they don't even know if they can do this. It's like, imagine like with any other thing, like you say, oh, I want to be a doctor, I'm going to straight to surgery, right? It's like, oh my God, it's like, are you even able to see blood if you want to do surgery? And that's an issue. And then people are learning and spending all this time, and oftentimes they lose a lot of money. And then they say, oh my God, I'm actually not good for day trading. This is not what I should have been doing, because my personality is not good for that. And look, sure, you can fix some things, but you can't change completely who you are as a human being. And that's, I think, before anyone starts trading, that's super important to know, because it saves time and money. It's like you're choosing a college or what you want to do for life. Like, of course, you don't have to know 100%, but you at least have to know what is out there and see, okay, would I like to be a psychologist, or do I want to be a doctor? Do I want to go into finance? And the same with trading. Like, can I actually do this job? Is this easy? And I think in 2020, we just had this massive influx of traders and people that just wanted to make money because the market was going crazy. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. And it's really sad. I wish there would be more, education on this. That would be probably helpful. So yeah, all the books will not help you before you know who you are and what you can do and know your psychology. So I wish there would be more books on that, actually. That would be great.
Is it fair to say that most people will seek out help when when they're in a drawdown, when they're suffering losses. I mean, I'd argue that the people that should reach out for help are those that are constantly winning, because that's probably where they often get into the most trouble, given that the future doesn't necessarily look like the past. But talk about sort of the types of where people are in their own journey when they typically come to people like you for some kind of coaching, some kind of help.
Well, people usually come for help when it's too late. That's sad too, but I was always promoting, when I was doing relationship coaching, I was always promoting a prevention instead of treatment. And I like it in wellness as well. I like to deal with things at the beginning. That's like kind of my thing. And that's why I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist, because that's a different story. But yeah, I think people seek out help mostly when it's too late, when they are struggling, when they are losing money and their portfolio is super negative, and they don't want to find out why and what's happening. So I suggest everyone, before they start trading, they should do this. But each their own. If people want to just try and put some money into the market and lose them, and then they come and actually try to learn about psychology and what's happening with them, why they act certain ways, that's what they want to do. But yeah, to answer your question, I think prevention is much better than treatment in many ways.
Less profitable, in fairness, in terms of being the coach, right? I mean, you can make that argument about the entire healthcare system in general. Just for the remaining minutes here, everybody, please make sure you follow Lia. And again, if any of you want to come up and ask questions, feel free to engage. As you can tell, I try to run these spaces more of a professional podcast, I think, than a lot of these Twitter spaces and how others run them. Again, this will be under the Lead Lag Live brand name on all your favorite platforms. Okay, I'm curious to hear about sort of your own psychology, your own trading, your own personality, and how you manage risk and how you manage markets. I think you kind of hit on it, but part of the dilemma is not just that retail, and there was this huge influx of retail traders, post COVID, but it's also that the full experience of retail traders happens to be in one of the most unusual market cycles you can imagine. That's not really even in the textbooks, which I would argue kind of colors their experience and their understanding of the way market dynamics work. Talk about how you yourself have gone through the trading journey the last year and a half, 2 years. What books did you read? What did you learn along the way? What did you think about your own personality and fit with how you trade? Just go through that whole process for us.
Yeah, that's as you said, this is quite fascinating time in the markets. I think there's a question. Should we take the question and then I get into this? Yeah. So again, like most people, I just hopped straight into trading. I was learning, and now after a while, I'm actually realizing that I'm much better swing trader than a day trader, for example, because I have no patience. And like, I have patience to be in a trade when I'm not looking at it, but while I'm looking at the trade and a day trade, I cannot do it. It's really difficult for me, for example. So I was day trading for 2 years, and I'm like, okay, I make money, I lose money, I make money, I lose money. I realize I just don't have personality for that, to get into a trade, look at the chart and look at these micro movements and get out in like half an hour, 10 minutes, or whatever you call it. So I just don't day trade. I don't do it mostly. Sometimes I take a little day trade when I see like now short Tesla. I mean, it's been such a great day trade almost every day, which is sad. But, I love swing trading and I love position trading. That's, for example, what works for me the best. I like to see that the market is extremely oversold and we have the fear around 15 on the fear and greed index. And then I basically buy 4 or 5 companies that I know and I love and I don't mind owning. And I buy them with a very tight stop loss in the case that we break through the support on the market and we go much lower. And so I would have very tight stop. And if not, then you see these massive bear market rallies that they can make you 5 to 10% easily, a short period of time, talking about weeks. And then another thing I do and I invest where I have 20 stocks in my portfolio. And I'm buying them on, as I said, on supports. When we have a big dip, I buy. I keep buying little dips on those companies. And that's based on fundamentals that I know these companies are undervalued and they will be doing well in the future. So I have some favorites there. And these are like the two trading styles that work really well for me. For example, like I couldn't scalp options or like do scalp trading. that for me would create massive anxiety, and I wouldn't be able to do it. But that it took me a long time to learn this, and I wish that I would actually have someone who would be honest with me, because everyone tries to sell you a course and spend thousands of dollars to learn, and you spend months and months learning, and then it's nothing happens with after you realize I spent all these years trying to day trade, and it's not something I want to do. So yeah, the self-exploration is important, but also give it a time. I wouldn't just trade once or twice and say, no, this is not for me, I'm too scared. Everything requires patience in life. And some people are more patient than the others. Some people truly can sit looking at the markets and trade for hours every day and wait for the right setup. I just realized that for me, I cannot do it. Because I'm too active. I love to run around. I love to do things. I love to talk to people. I love to do my sessions, and just to sit there all day looking at the market, I don't think I do it well as I proved myself. So I much rather look at a company, like when the market is closed after or over the weekend, I look at some companies. I said, okay, this looks like it's going to rally next week. Let me prepare a setup and have 2-3 setups for the week. And that's like a swing trade. Or as I said, when the market is extremely oversold, we're on the support to buy a bigger amount of stock, or you can even trade the index fund that way. That's what I would love. That's what I want to focus on, and that's what I've been doing mostly. It's like never trade from boredom. Also, it's like sometimes it's a morning, and I also say, okay, let me trade because I want to trade. I want the excitement, and I say no. At the beginning, I would, and now I say no. I don't think that the market is great. The market is choppy. There's a great way to lose money. I'm not going to do it. And be strict with yourself.
You talk about being patient and walking away, and when we talked about addiction a little bit earlier. I kind of feel like all that means people should be totally off of Twitter. Because Twitter is, okay, you can argue, and I know myself, can be quite addictive. I mean, in my case, I'm on calls a large part of the day. I do my tweets often kind of in between, despite everybody thinking that I have nothing but free time in my hands. It's more just an outlet for me to get random thoughts out. But arguably, I would make the case. I've made the case that Twitter is actually very toxic for one's own personal growth, not because of the availability of ideas, but because people will naturally like and retweet, and the algo will favor things that you already agree with, right? And the last thing you want is confirmation bias when you're being a trader. You actually want to be questioned, right? You want some kind of counter arguments. How do you factor in your own tweets, FinTwit, to your trading style, and do you find that it's actually helped you or hurt you?
At the beginning, it definitely hurt me. I'll be honest with you, because when you're starting as a trader and you see all this fake stuff, and I don't say everyone is fake, God forbid, there are great people out there. But there's a lot of stuff that focuses, again, as I said, just on the money. It focuses on the profits, on the sexy cars and the lifestyle vacations. And it brings this kind of a really fake idea of how trading works and how it is. It's not that easy. And people just go into it with a greed and with a dream, and it ends up poorly for them. So at the beginning, I would just go and I see, oh, wow, these guys have a lot of followers. What are they trading? Oh, let me buy. But, to buy a stock based on Twitter posts, it's almost like I feel like I'm on a plane and the pilot just left. He took a parachute and I'm sitting on the plane. I'm going to die because I don't know where to get out. This is not my trade. And I learned that most of money I lost in the past was because I was following puppet trades of someone else. It's different. Like what I suggest people, like FinTwit is great, but if you want to follow someone and you see the trade, take the trade and analyze it yourself and say, oh, wow, this is a great idea. I think that could make sense. This information makes sense. Because all information is important, bad information and good information. And we can use our critical thinking to actually use it for our advantage. But just see like, oh yeah, I'm buying, hope, buy, and that's it. And also like Twitter, I think is really bad for FOMO, for fear of missing out. You're like, when you see the people, oh my God, I'm printing. This is great money. And I don't like when people do that. I sometimes post my trades too, but I more post charts, and I want people to just look at the chart and see, okay, this makes sense. I'm going to create my own trade. You make the trade your own. But I don't know, like some people just post the profits, and then you feel FOMO. It's like, oh my God, let me maybe buy the stock still. And I do it sometimes still. Like, we're not perfect. Even the best traders that they've been trading for many years make mistakes. And our emotions are extremely, like, it's so hard to overcome our emotions. It's not easy. So sometimes I would do that too. And then, you end up in a trade and the trade goes against you. You have FOMO. You saw the stock being up XYZ% and you buy and then you're stuck. You sell with loss. You say, why did I do it? But the important is to know, okay, if I make this mistake, I buy stock without even knowing why I'm buying it because someone posted it. Just get out. Just get out as fast as you can. And then analyze and say, okay, is this a good idea? Do I want to repeat this idea or no? Analyze everything you see. But then again, you have this information overload because if you're following hundreds of people and everyone has an idea, you're going to get completely overloaded and it can lead into anxiety almost. And it can lead to, it's like, okay, they're always trading all this stuff. I don't even know what to trade anymore. So that's what trader can do to you. And as you said, like, it's a great place to discuss, but I worry for our generation and a younger generation than mine. I'm millennial, so like the people after us also, I feel like they're lacking oftentimes communication skills and they get offended. You can't really discuss. There's no constructive, they don't know how to discuss respectfully. I'm lacking the constructive criticism. People just offend each other and that's not good. That's not going to lead anywhere. So I wish that there would be more criticism that would lead to a question, that would lead to a discussion. That would be great.
Yeah, and I'd argue also just in general separating the person from the problem or the conclusion. I mean, I think I rant on that quite a bit. It's people, especially on Twitter, I find it's particularly nasty. But one thing is to disagree with one's thought process. Another thing is to make it personal, right? And I think that becomes actually pretty challenging, especially for newer entrants when it comes to investing, because to your point, it takes a certain personality to communicate effectively in a short format, but also to not get affected by the person who's seemingly has more followers and is being aggressive towards you because you're trying to ask a legitimate, honest question, right? That's I think where it gets to be quite difficult.
Yeah, it does, and also like I'm, we don't want to be wrong. Like, it's fine to be wrong. You can make mistakes. If I make a mistake, okay, I made a mistake. I will lose money, or it wasn't right. Okay, I'm happy that someone actually respectfully points out that I'm making a mistake. To like predict that I'm making a mistake, I don't like that. If I make a trade and someone say, "Oh, you will lose," it's a stupid idea. I'm like, well, dude, like, let's talk once the trade is actually in fruition, or I have my stop loss that kicks in. Then you can judge if that's a bad idea or not. But if before that, there's no point why to offend someone. I have my reasons why I do it, why I did this trade or why I took the trade. And just like, instead of having a proper question, like, why did you decide to take this trade? That would be much better than like, oh, it's a stupid trade. But who I am to teach people communication. I mean, that's what I did for years. But I think Twitter is just it's a wild place, and you just can't take things personally. I think that's all you can do. There are people that are nice and they're sophisticated. They know how to ask questions, and there are people they just can't, and there are people that are just mean. And it is what it is. It's like in real life. But on Twitter, you encounter just this huge amount of people in one day, which you probably would never encounter on the streets because you don't see so many people that we interact with.
Yeah, and I think also it's that it's hard to know, because social proof is often what people will look towards. It's hard to know really who has true skin in the game, right? If there's a true alignment of thought and knowing what risk is, as opposed to what I think are a lot of these kind of nonsense guru accounts that you don't know if they're actually trading or not to begin with, but they sure sound pretty confident in their messaging. Let's go back to some of the audience here.
Thank you for the question. So, as far as I know, the new generation after us is dealing with mostly social media, and I've done a lot of interviews on, for example, their lifestyle and behaviors. A lot of people in the younger generations, they don't know how to interact with real people because they were basically growing up on social media in the last 10, 12, 13 years. So there is a problem with that. And of course, the social media are affecting your neuroscience much, much more than we had in the past, because you have this influx of likes that are creating dopamine response as well. that are, you need a constant confirmation of being great, of, posting pictures of yourself and all the stuff. And if we don't get it, a lot of the younger people get depressed. They need it. And it doesn't work like that in real life. I post pictures of myself too, and I'm like, okay, I have likes, I don't have likes, I don't care. But I worry for the younger people that they're going to have a hard time with real life because you don't get so much positive confirmation in real life. And I see it happening now. Like they don't know how to interact. They have a hard time to find partners for sex. The new generation, apparently, looking at the last research, doesn't have even that much sex. And I'm bringing it up because it is quite sad to see. When it comes to trading, I mean, there were older generations that have gaming issues too. So I don't know if that's the situation. Even our generation was growing up on video games. So I don't think it's that different to the newer generations. But I can definitely see it in the realm of communication, that they have a hard time to communicate, and they don't have the ability to communicate effectively. I can see it. It's really visible already for me as a coach and as someone who is in this field and interacts with people. It's such a difference to talk to someone in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. It's truly fascinating. So I wish there would be more classes on communication, actually, for especially younger generations, because we're just chatting on all these apps, and that's what's happening. And then you go to a social club or where people used to socialize, and they're all on their computers. And when you talk to them, they can't even look into your eyes. So that's what I hope it answers your question a little bit. I know you were looking more to if I see difference between like the generation and trading and addiction, but that not really. It's more the communication issue I see.
I think it's also about being able to be a good judge of character. And I think it's also kind of the other issue with social media. I rarely pop into other spaces, but the spaces that I will pop into, like, I know for sure that the person that's speaking is either full of shit or a fraud, but people will ask questions as if this person is, somebody who knows what they're talking about, has skin in the game, right? So, and I don't know if there's any research around that, Leah, or not, but it does seem to me that part of the problem with social media is that it's leveled the playing field, not just in terms of communication, but it's made people believe that whoever is engaging with them has the credentials and the real sort of history to back up what they're saying, even in an audio format like this.
It's all about the likes and followers, and that's the worst part, because like, if you see someone, like, a lot of people have this bias and say, okay, if someone has a lot of followers, they're great. If someone doesn't have followers, they're not. There are a lot of professional people that are extremely smart. They don't have many followers. But I think like we're just focusing on the likes and on the followers, and that's how we kind of think that someone is great. That is what I think is happening. I see people having a lot of followers selling books, and the books don't make any sense sometimes. It's like, okay, did you actually do any sort of research? A lot of people write books, they don't even do research. When I wrote my book, I spent 1 year reading research studies and actually referenced to up 50 research studies that I picked from all the research I did. I read hundreds of them, but like, oftentimes we don't even look at that. We see someone has 500,000 Instagram followers and they wrote a book that doesn't make any sense, but people just buy it. So yeah, so there's the issue with social media, that all the success is basically based on the following, and I think that's very dangerous. So you're right, if there is some guru who somehow got the following, because I don't know how they got the following, but maybe they did something that people like on social media, showing nice cars and watches, for example, then people will believe this person. And again, like, I don't want to generalize. Look, there are great people, they're amazing traders, and they have a great lifestyle, and God bless them. I really appreciate these people, but it takes more to understand who is who, and if they're really good in what they do, just the following. So that's the danger of social media. So thank you, Maki, for your kind words. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so back to it, I will write book on trading, and I'm already thinking to actually write book on options trading, because I learned so much about options, and I think that do like something quick for people to learn would be amazing. And also I'm working on a series of videos about option trading. So that's what I'm working on right now. But my story is pretty much similar to yours. I came to trading completely alone. Like, I had absolutely no one. And I think I just went after like this like first place I actually was following was Investopedia and Benzinga. And through Benzinga, I actually got into like finding other people and trading and classes. And then I went to real life trading. There are many, like Stock Market Lab. I would name few that I think are great, but it took a while. There's like also a lot of YouTube videos I was watching, and that helped a lot too, because you could see. I mean, if you follow someone and someone is consistent, they explain the trade. They don't focus only on how much money they made, but they focus actually on how they made the money, because that way they want to teach you. They don't want just to show you, oh, sign up for my class, I made this money. Show me how. Go in very detail how you make this money. And there are a lot of guys, they teach you, they don't show you the money, but they show you, or women, they show you our risk to reward. And that's something extremely important. Because who cares if you made $1,000 if you were risking $3,000, or you were risking $10,000, then you made $1,000. That's a bad trade. But if you were risking $300 and you made $1,000, this is over 3-hour trade. And that's what's important. And that's the groups I was focusing on as well, because they showed me, okay, I made 3 hours. I don't care how much money you have. Like, there are people, they trade with little accounts, people with big accounts. Show me how many hours you made. That's an intelligent trade, and that's an intelligent trader and teacher I want to have.
Yeah, and that goes back to that whole, the amateurs look to the right of the equal sign, pros look to the left. I mean, you have to, and people will gravitate towards those that are right in outcome, not necessarily right in process. And what I think people have a hard time understanding is that you can be wrong in outcome, but still right in process, right? Because it's always about probabilities. It's not about, what ends up actually happening. It's under the same set of circumstances, would you win over multiple roll of the die?
Exactly. That's important, to have a strategy and stick with the strategy. Because again, like, if you lose and it was your strategy, that's great. Like, I'm personally not happy if I take a puppet trade or a trade that was luck and I made money. I wouldn't consider myself, oh, that was a great trade. No, it was a terrible trade, because it could have gone against me. I hate those trades, but if that was a trade that I actually had a plan, I stick to the plan. I did exactly what I wanted to do, and that's what I suggest is like very important for people if they want to know how to overcome emotion, is to have a plan. I want to mention that too while I'm talking. To have a plan, to know when to get into the trade, when to get out, and even set your stop losses. And if I make money or lose money that way, I'm calm, because that was my plan. I don't feel like I was just doing a hackmack trade. I take a hackback trade, which I still, as I said, still do even after almost 3 years. In April will be 3 years. I still have those tendencies once in a while. Then I'm upset with myself. But it's less and less. It happens once a month, maybe not even. Before, it was happening all the time. You can train yourself, and there are great tools to use to actually observe your trades that you did. You have to journal too. You have to focus on the plan and not the reflexes. You don't want to just act upon your reflexes. So like, oh my God, yeah, let me get out. And never go after your gut. That's another tip I give to people, because in trading, your gut doesn't work. In life, it does work really well. We are intuitive, but in trading, it's less so. So it's better to be like a robot and have a plan.
Well, unfortunately, I have a plan to end the space since it's the top of the hour. But everybody, please make sure you follow Lia. You can check out, if you're curious, her book on Amazon. We'll do this again, Lia. Appreciate your hour with us, and everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you, as always, for the support to those that keep on coming back to these spaces. Thank you, Lia.